Le cheval plaît beaucoup, hein. C'est un vecteur de communication extraordinaire.
Avant d'être un cavalier, c'était important d'être un horseman.
Always put the horse before the personal ambitions.
Vraiment un cheval incroyable.
Voilà quelqu'un qui est champion olympique et qui n'est pas ordinaire.
Se remettre en question et peut se servir des défaites pour être meilleur après.
Ce feeling, je l'ai eu directement avec Caleb.
On fait du haut niveau, il y a le côté financier, c'est comme ça.
Aller en compétition parce qu'il est bon, pas parce qu'il paye une table.
Moi, je veux pas courir mes chevaux pour l'argent.
If you can do it in a way that doesn't take too much out of your horses.
Quand on voit l'évolution en 10 ans de temps, qu'est-ce que ça va être dans 10 ans ?
Pouvoir motiver les jeunes à aller au bout de leurs rêves.
Forme de très très bons compétiteurs. Je ne vais pas dire que ça forme des hommes de chevaux.
Pour moi, les bons moments, ils sont à venir.
Aujourd'hui, réussir sa vie, c'est avoir la vie que l'on souhaite.
Get ready for your daily dose of inspiration. Last year, during Equita Lyon, we had the honor of sitting down with one of the greatest writers of all time, Ben Maher. For nearly an hour, we talked about his career, his path to the top, and everything in between. I remember walking away from that conversation feeling deeply inspired. We all know Ben Maher, Olympic champions, world number one, the brilliant writers of Explosion, but very few of us actually know the man behind the medals, the young rider who fought just to keep going, who had to find ways to stay in the sport, to afford competing, to make it to the next show. What a powerful lesson it is to hear someone at the very top speak so openly about the challenges, the doubts, and the moment where everything felt uncertain. We're incredibly grateful to Ben for taking the time to join us, especially knowing how rarely he accepts interviews. But most of all, we thank him for his honesty and for sharing what it truly means to compete at the highest level in equestrian sports. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with your friends, your fellow riders, your team, and post it on your social media, tag us, talk about it. Every share helps us grow, reach more listeners, and continue giving a voice to those who inspire us in the equestrian world. I'm an Equestrian is an independent podcast built with passion and care, and with your support, we can keep making it shine one story at a time. Are you ready? Welcome in I'm an Equestrian, the podcast. Hello, Ben. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to reply to some questions, to talk about your story. So today what we want to understand is where do you come from, who you are, how have you shaped your career along the way, who were the persons who helped you build the career that you have, what's your philosophy. So it's like a big picture of who you are and what kind of athletes you want to be, what kind of equestrian and horseman you aspire to be. I will just sum up a little bit your career. I know everyone who will be listening to the podcast will know you, but just to be sure everyone has the right palmarès in mind, you have been very successful along the way. You had a lot of titles and stuff, but maybe one of the main one will be to have won the team gold with your team and the individual gold at the Olympics. You have participated with the British team in many world championships, Olympic games, and it feels like you have been in the picture for years and haven't missed any competition, any deadlines, if we can say, any milestone. Can you please tell us the story of yours? How did you start riding horses? What's your story? In what kind of family did you grow up? And how did you start to ride and to understand that it will be your life and your profession?
I'm not from a horse riding family at all. My mum used to ride a little bit as a hobby at weekends. She had a horse and had a Shetland pony called Dougal. Very naughty Shetland pony that I used to get sat on. Some memories come back a bit now because I have it with my children. So I try to learn from those mistakes that happen with me maybe, and I have well-behaved ponies. But Yeah, it started there, and in the beginning, cross country, pony club in England we have, dressing up, really not pushed for the sport. Nothing was pushed. I was always quite driven, and I always enjoyed the horses. I don't know where that came from. I had a strange obsession and a love for the ponies at that point. I used to fall off all of the time, like nearly impossible that I stayed on around the whole course. Only one leg used to work. The other one was kicking all the time, and the left one never moved. So yeah, it was a pretty slow start, but I think in the long run, maybe that helped me, because I was always very determined to get back on, to keep trying to improve. As I said, the cross country, I started a bit in the beginning, but it was a bit dangerous for the amount of times I fell off. But then I got going a bit. I probably got stronger as I got a little bit older, and I started on the 128 ponies, the 138 ponies, and I had some success. And then I think the doors started to open for me that maybe this was the world that I wanted to be. My parents were very supportive, tried to help me as much as they could during those times, but they knew that they didn't have the knowledge or the background to take me further in the sport. So when I finished school, when I was 16, I did my final exams, and I had my bag packed on that day, and I never went home. I left school and went to Warwickshire with Liz and Ted Edgar, who are no longer with us anymore. But in the day, I think the biggest family in the sport many years ago, and I think that was a compromise from my parents, that I was there not too far from home, but it was a stepping stone to showing me the professional side of the sport. And if I wanted to leave school after my exams, then I had to take this seriously. So there was a couple of years there where I would say that I didn't achieve the results that I wanted to achieve, but it gave me a very good grounding. And sometimes in what I see now is it's all about the results when you're 16, 17, 18, and sometimes the horsemanship and the drive to want to learn and to do everything from the ground up and understanding what we're trying to do is a little bit forgotten. It's a bit of a forgotten art. So I think those years, although I maybe disappeared a little bit or wasn't visible sort of going forward in the sport, they've actually done me the world of good. But I did realize that at one point it was time for me to spread my wings a little bit, and I was given an opportunity to go to Be It Manley's in Switzerland, who I'm sure everybody knows Be It, but at the time especially was world number 2 or 3 for 2 weeks. So I went there. He offered me a job, and I stayed for 2 or 3 years as a stable rider. So it was the big beginning for me to really come into the sport and to see a whole nother level of professionalism. It was hard work. We were 12-hour days, no days off.
Riding how many horses a day?
A lot. Yeah, I think maybe 12 horses a day, maybe 14. It was a lot of horses. A lot of times I was on his horses for a second time in the afternoon. He was away competing. It was hard. Yeah, it wasn't the best lifestyle, but it was actually some of the most fun memories that I've had. We worked hard. I felt part of a team, and he really showed me a different style and a different outlook on the sport and how to treat every horse as an individual, which I think I do my best to carry forward still now. So I just saw him actually last week. I was in Washington and had great times there over those couple of years.
You say that you want to learn, to improve, to understand the horse. What is to be a horseman for you?
I think it's understanding the horse. I'm very spoiled. I have many good horses now. I've had many good horses in the past, but I think some horses are misunderstood or they slip through the net because they're not so easy, or we're not training them in the correct ways. So like people, we're all individual. Everybody has positives and negatives, and it's about working with those. And that's what I've learned from Beat, and that's what I've tried to do over the years. And I think you were very kind in the beginning. I've been around a lot now, makes me feel old, but there's still many things that I haven't won. But then on the other hand, I feel like I've had a lot of good horses, and I take pride in that, with my team obviously behind me as well. We try to always produce the next horses and come forward. I have amazing owners and sponsors now, but it's not easy to stay at the top and stay consistent and always be pushing for the next. And so this year has been a quiet year for me in the sense that I haven't won many Grand Prix. However, all of the horses have competed well and been very consistent, and even here yesterday second. And I think in the end the wins come, but sometimes it's about timing.
I'd love to hear you talk about yourself as a person, as an athlete. I'd love to know more about your personality, because we've been seeing you on top of the sport for years, for decades, but we don't know you very well. You're quite discreet. Can you tell us who you are, like in the ring, but also in the daily life? What are your best and main traits of character? What are your best flows, maybe? Who are you?
Not my worst. Yeah, I was very quiet when I was younger. I'm more outgoing now as I got older. Maybe that comes with confidence in what we do as well. And we're in a sport now where riding is not enough. There's many good riders in the world, but we also have to be looking for horses, interacting with people, sponsors, owners. This is very much my job. When I come here, I'm focused. I do my thing. I'm sure some people will see that as that you could enjoy it a lot more. I enjoy what I do. I'm very lucky to be able to do what I love to do every day. But when I come here, I'm here to work, and I try to let the results in the ring do the talking. I have my owners of the horses that put their trust in me. So full focus is on that. I'm not doing so many interviews all the time, and social media and things. And it's important. There is a place for that, and that I understand in the modern sport. And it's important to give back in some of these interviews to make younger riders see the journey and see what's possible or not. But yeah, I would say I'm quiet. I put my energy into the horses and to try to always be the best that I can possibly be and get the best out of my horses. But it's tough. I'm sure I'm not the first rider to sit here and you're away 50 weeks of a year and only 2.5 days at home. I have family now that I don't get to see very often, so that's also difficult. And I think probably now I've softened a little bit on the edges. Before my wife would say I'm still selfish, but I as a sports person, you have to be a little selfish, I think. But definitely when we have lesser weekends and I get on the plane and I go home, and it helps me to recover and rebound quicker when I go home and see Sophie and my children. And it also gives a different drive to want to be better. It's the focus shifts a little bit, but still the end goal and the result is the same. And I think that's just part of growing up in the sport.
Just about an hour ago, we were talking with a mental coach working with some of the best French riders mainly, and we asked him what's the difference between someone who's very good in his sports and someone who's at the top level of sports. And he told us that basically someone who's good is having talent and skills and stuff, but someone who is really good, someone who is becoming a champion or who is a champion material, is someone who is able to question himself, herself a lot, always trying trying to not find their responsibility outside when the performance is not good, but always taking the responsibility on him or on her, asking what can I do more, what can I do better, why did I fail and stuff. Do you believe that this is also the mind process that you have, always trying to question your performance, always trying to question your choices, your riding, your decisions and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are people in the riding or sports that obviously they maybe believe they're good, and that can be a downfall. I believe that you should be positive and you shouldn't. I remember when I was younger, I ride into the warm-up of my first few bigger shows, and I saw Ludger Beerbaum riding, and he was always my favorite rider, but many big riders, and you're in awe a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but when you start to ride, you shouldn't feel like you're below. You should inside feel that you are capable of doing and believe in yourself. That is, believing in yourself is very important. But on the other hand, somebody that thinks they know everything and they've made it, I don't believe we've ever made it. It's if the minute that we sit still, we will be overtaken by the next generation. So I constantly critique. Even yesterday, I was second in the Grand Prix. It was a great day. My horse was great, but it wasn't good enough. It's I come after Richard. There's no excuses. I know what I have to do, and I didn't do enough. So whether it was possible, it's always possible, but sometimes you have to weigh up the risk versus just going crazy and knocking a jump down as well. But it's not often that I go back home on the plane or the car and feel that we couldn't have done anything better. And I think that's not just the result in the ring. That comes from, as riders, we have to manage our staff, we have to manage our vets, our feed, how they're working at home. Obviously, I probably ride the horses less myself than sometimes the people that are working with me because we're always traveling. So it's the whole picture of where can we improve and how can we make the horses stay like horses and be happy and adjust to all the different time zones that we're traveling with and what brings out the best in the horse. And so it's not just about me as a rider trying to be the best I can be, but also making sure that everybody around me and the whole program is trying to be better all of the time. And we're going through a little bit of a phase like this at home, looking at a few new things and the new ideas, because I do feel that there's room for improvement and we're never too old to learn.
Ben, yesterday we met Martin Fuchs, and he explains to us that with his family, with the background he has, he always thought that he will go into the Olympics, he will participate to the Olympics, and he will be a champion. When you were 10, 15 years old, did you thought that you will be a champion? This champion?
No. I knew it was the sport that I wanted to try, and I couldn't wait to leave school. I had to do my exams and do everything correct, but this is what I wanted to do. But it's a different upbringing from Martin, but also it's not always an advantage to be Martin, which I think about now with my children. If they decide they want to ride, there's certain ways that I would want to do it, because it's important that you don't put everything on a plate for them, and they have to understand. They also have to go through a little bit the hard times and not have us do everything for them. But it was always a dream to go to the Olympics, but a distant dream. I was at Edgar's. I had some better times with Be It Manly, and then I come back to start on my own in England. And I was struggling a lot for 18 months or 2 years, and didn't see a path forward. I actually started to work a little bit in London. I took a job in London thinking that I could maybe work 3 days a week in London and then start the riding again, because I didn't see a path to make a living. So there were moments where probably didn't seem possible, but then Roulette, the horse, come along that I took to Beijing, very hairy, under nobody recognized her. You know, she wasn't really a famous horse or anything. And within 12 months, she changed my life. I went from potentially moving away from the sport to being in the Olympic Games, and we had a good Olympic Games. Unfortunately, she was sold after, but it was the springboard or the catalyst to me believing that it was possible, and also opening doors with other horses for me.
I'd like to know, how is your system built? Because a bit earlier you told us that you're producing young horses. You also have owners, sponsors. So from this person who was working half the week outside of the industry and then trying to pursue his dreams as a rider, from this person you are today with a string of horses, with many participations in championships. What has happened? What did you build? How is it built today? What are the foundations today of your career and of your system?
I think the basics and the system came or still come from the early days with the Edgar family and Be It Manly. It's very the stable system is built very much the same. When I started on my own, when I left Beats, I took every horse I could. Every horse that was offered to me in England, I took, and I took quantity over, I shouldn't say quality, but I took everything that was offered. And all of a sudden I had 20 horses, and they paid small amount of money every week. I probably wasn't making money, but I had a lot to ride, and I did that for a while to get going, and then I won the Hickstead Derby and the Speed Derby on the same weekend, which was pretty big in that time, and that opened doors to maybe slightly better horses. I moved on a little bit from that to cut down with the horses, and I rode for investment owners, so people that invested money into, they enjoyed the sport, but if the horses were sold for more money, that was the objective. Fast forwarding on now to taking over the rides for Jane Clark in America. 13 years ago now, we've been together a long time. It was a whole new world for me. Even though I had experience from Beijing, London Olympics, I started for Jane, and I felt like a beginner again. You know, I was over in America, I was out of my element. A lot of people looking at me, what I was doing, riding for an American owner, and riding for a different reason, a different purpose. It was not to bring the horse onto a bigger level to sell for more money. This was now, I was given horses to be the best that we could be together, and for life. I didn't have to worry about the horse being sold on Monday morning if they had a good class or a championship. So that really changed the way I was thinking, and changed how we run the stable and how we think on a day-to-day basis. And then moving forward as well, I ride for Charlotte Rossiter and Pamela Wright now, who started with Explosion. And so riding for both families now, I'm in a very, very privileged place, and it wasn't always like that. And there were many times when we were struggling and not able to go to shows because it was too expensive, and now I have the full support of them, and they trust me, but I still don't forget where we come from, and that it's my job, and I'm disappointed for them when I don't achieve what we want to achieve as much as for myself. And I think that's important. That gives me the drive when I go into the stable on a Monday morning or a Tuesday. I think if I lead by example, then the people working with me will also stay wanting more all of the time. And I only have people around me in the stable that are firstly good with the horses, and they want to be getting the best out of the horse, keeping the horse enjoying the sport, and being winners. We want to surround ourselves by winners. It's negativity doesn't. We have enough negatives here. We lose every week, every day even. So that's a big thing for me, having positive people around. And when one of us, me or them, get down, it's important that we address it quite quickly, that we come out of those holes.
In 2013, you became the first British show jumper to reach the #1 ranking in the world. 2 years ago, we met Peter Fredriksson in Geneva, and yesterday we met Martin Fuchs here, and they told us that being world #1 was a goal for them. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, definitely a goal. I mean, to say that you be #1 is, like I said, I've been very lucky to win many things. I would still love to win Aachen or Geneva or Calgary. For some reason, these classes, they have eluded me. I've been close a few times. But to be #1 means for me consistency throughout the year. And I actually wasn't #1 for very long. It was a short period of time. But I did it. And that's what's important to me. And now I've been #2. I don't know, you probably have the stats more than me, but for, I don't know, nearly 2 years or between 3 and 2 for that long. I was sitting behind Henrik with King Edward for a long time. And then maybe that time was up a little bit for him. And then now Kent Barrington went very far ahead. And it's hard to believe with Explosion that I wasn't #1, but I think it just came at bad timings with COVID and waiting for the Olympic Games was the goal with him. That was the dream, and I knew that there was only one chance. So yeah, it's not my priority now. I was younger and I ticked that off the list. I don't chase the ranking now. I let the results do their thing, and for sure in the back of my mind, I would love if I got close just to be, I think it would be nice for my owners as well, for all that they do for me. #1 is #1. I won't sit here and say that it's not important, but I wouldn't do extra shows, jump my horses more, or chase ranking points to become #1. I stick to my plan and I do the right thing by the team and the horses, and if #1 comes along, then it does. But perhaps that attitude is why we've been #2 and we're not #1, but I can live with that.
When talking about your system, you highlighted the fact that you no longer ride horses for them to be sold and to make money, because this is where the money comes from to finance your sport. But now you have the opportunity of riding horses just to try to make them the best and to bring you along the way to be the best athletes. What does that change? What's different when we have to ride horses that will eventually have to be sold, and when we are riding horses that we know are not for sale, that we can keep and just enjoy sport and produce for sports?
I think the mental sort of the work ethic and what they're producing the horse and that doesn't change. The basics and the system and how we're riding them, that all stays the same. Ultimately, we all want to be the best that we can be and to produce the horse to be the best they can be. Maybe if the goal is to sell in the end, or they can get fast tracked, or it can all happen a little bit too quickly. I do have the luxury now that I have a bigger team of horses. If a horse, Point Break, for instance, he was great when he was 6, 7, 8, and then he slowed a little bit. He was always ahead, and then when he was 9, he had a bit of a quieter year. Maybe wasn't quite as fit as what I needed to have him. And results just sort of dropped a little bit. And then towards the end of last year, he sort of catapulted forward again. He still has many things to prove and to win, but definitely thought about as one of the better horses there are in the world. And I think that was a luxury I had, where I didn't have to push him. #1, I had more horses to fall back on, but it wasn't that I was under pressure from owners to make it happen faster and under pressure to make sales. So I think in the end, it doesn't change how we ride the horses, though. It just allows me the freedom to do what I want to do and do the right thing by the horse.
Among the many talented horses you have had the chance to meet and ride is the very unique Explosion. With this horse, you won the Global Champions Tour, the silver individual medals in 2019, Rotterdam European Championships, as well as the bronze medal with your team. In 2021, you became no less than Olympic champion in Tokyo. About Explosion, we often hear that he is one of the, if not the greatest horse of his generation. He is often compared to with King Edward. How has this horse impacted your career, and is he for you an irreplaceable partner? And do you think that Dallas is also one of your lifetime horse?
I don't compare the horses. Like I said in the beginning, they're all individual. And Explosion also had his quirks and his weaknesses. Not many, but he for sure had a few. Explosion was good when he was 7 years old. He was good when he was 8 years old. I never thought that he would go on to do what he would do. I didn't actually ride him so much myself in the beginning, and he came to me more permanently when he was 9. But his brain was different. It is different. I mean, I still ride him at home. I rode him just before here, actually. But when you go on the horse, some horses give you the confidence that you come as one and you can do anything. And some horses, we have to motivate them, or we have to change things for the right time. And he was very advanced for his age. He won the many Grand Prix when he was 9 years old. I have other 9-year-olds that are still nowhere near ready to even jump a Grand Prix. When he was 10, he carried on winning, and he could win big classes like they were training rounds almost. It sounds, I don't normally say things like that, but he was so talented and naturally fast that you could jump around a qualifier for a Grand Prix, or as he did in the Olympics, albeit we're obviously at the highest level, he won the qualifier for the individual final, not trying to be the fastest, and that's what I think made him so special. So I think COVID was a big problem for him. He was on a run, and he really stopped all of the momentum. We got stuck in America, and then unfortunately he had an incident with his breathing, and I really felt like the Olympics was not going to be possible then. It was all at the wrong time, and we lost momentum. Did a very careful job bringing him back and getting him fit for the right time, and he won the Grand Prix in Windsor just before the Olympics. And myself and Cormac, now that's just came back to work for me, he was the groom for Explosion at the time, spent a lot of time with him. And I think I still look at the pictures now, and when you see him in Tokyo, I don't think I've ever seen a horse look fitter than he did. He was in absolute prime peak fitness, and I remember when he landed, he just felt different. He felt so in tune. A lot was expected, and that he should win or he will win. That's not the case in our sport. It can go wrong in a blink of an eye, as we saw with King Edward in Paris. But I had the confidence that for some reason it was going to be a good week, and he actually was cheeky there, and he kicked my groom in the hip the first day. He had to go to hospital. He has that name for a reason. He's a bit sensitive to noise, Explosion, and for the warm-up, I tacked up myself and was feeding him and doing everything with him. And then fortunately, Cormac came back, and he was very nervous, and he just seemed very anxious. And I remember speaking to him in the tack room there, and I said, you just need to calm down. You will never put a bridle on a horse again as good as this. So just do your thing and let the horse do his job. Small pep talk. We did our thing, and the rest is history. I don't even remember much of, unfortunately, how it all happened, because it's obviously stressful situations, but that's the truth. That him as a horse was, at that time, unfortunately cannot compare to the other horses.
How did that feel at the moment? Did you even think of this medal as the acknowledgement of all the hard work, all the hard times you've been through? Was it something that you could process along the way, that winning the Olympics after all the works, after all the years working so hard at Beard, but also the times you've been through, Is it something that you now think of as a process, as of something you deserved?
I think many people deserve that. I was just fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to ride a horse like that, to be able to gel and create that bond. And then he changed ownership to Charlotte, Rosetta, and Pamela Wright for me, and they put their faith in me, and he was kept with me on the sort of the pretense that we were trying for Olympics, and he had a chance to win, and that's obviously far away. To sell that idea or that dream is one thing, but to go and do it is another. So the pressure was huge, and I really felt like I owed a lot of people, more so for myself. I owed a lot of people for everybody that had worked hard for me and kept things to make that happen. And at the time when you win, obviously, I wish I could remember more about that, is the truth. Obviously, it was a strange time in Tokyo. I didn't have my family and everybody around, but I had my owners there, and we enjoyed it, and it was incredible. But then on the other hand, it was also a relief, because I felt like it was, on one hand, from some people, a little expected, and on the other hand, I felt like it was my job, and I owed that to the horse as well. So a few months after was a bit difficult for a while, a little bit the come down from that, and that took a while to get the sort of inner drive or the fire again. Not in a negative way, but I can't explain the feeling. But it was a lot of stress building up, and then a little bit of a crash afterwards. But I'm fortunate that he came to me at the right time, and even now, when I rode him last week for some photos and things, we were cantering across the fields, and he's just a special horse. He looks like he's ready to come in here for the World Cup on Sunday. He's physically built differently from a lot of the other horses, and I guess I'm just lucky that he came to me in my life.
You have won the Olympics, you have won the European Championships, you have won the Longines Global Champions Tour, and yet the 3 shows you mentioned earlier that you wish you will won someday in your career are Geneva, Calgary, and Aachen, of course. Do you believe that today riders have some responsibility and a role to play in protecting those heritage shows, those, traditional shows such as Aachen, Calgary, and Geneva, and that you also, as an industry, as a community of riders, have a role to play in their preservation, in the fact that they must still and always be the prior shows in the world?
Of course, we have a role. Growing up, I remember sitting at home watching Eurosport and watching the World Cup series on in the evening, and hoping one day I could do that. I think Rolex have done an incredible job in preserving those shows and bringing the prize money to the next level, along with Global Champions Tour is obviously a very different league. It's the modern sport. It's about maybe making show jumping more accessible, putting them in locations where many other sports would not thrive, and close to beaches and things. Some people would argue that they're not the perfect environments for horses, but the horses are very well looked after. They travel first class, maybe a little bit restricted in space compared to shows like Aachen and Calgary, but they're also there for a short time, and then they're taken home and they go in the field and things like that. So I think there's an argument on both sides. I'm not going to be the full sort of advocate for just Aachen and Calgary and Geneva. I think they are very well supported. Those are the ones that the riders still want to win. Even here in Lyon, there's a huge crowd full of people every night. There's a show on over in Riyadh at the moment with probably more prize money than here. Maybe maybe not the same atmosphere and the same quality of sport, but not the same quality of sport in a different sense. With we as riders have a duty as well to put out back to the public and have them watch. And I think like last night they got a great show here. And sometimes when you go to the faraway countries, we don't have that sort of same acknowledgement. But in turn, maybe the sport has to still grow there in those countries. So yeah, I think we have the best of both worlds. And as riders, it's important to choose. And also with our horses, some horses are more suited to Aachen or Calgary. I have also had some that are more suited to the very small arenas like Miami and Cannes. So I think we have the best of both worlds, but it's important to choose because the calendar is very full.
3 or 4 years ago, Ben, you became the father of a little boy, Cooper, and now a little girl. I don't remember her name.
Quinn.
Has this changed your perspective on your life as a rider to being a father? As Gregory Watley told us, was it important to find family life after achieving so much success in sport?
I think when I was younger, or my whole life, it's been horses, riding horses, and that still is. But to have that family support, it is a hard job, and we leave a lot, and when we come back. But ultimately, when I come back, I know they're there. And at the moment, it's hard at the age where they are. They don't understand when I have to keep leaving and never there, and then coming home again this week. I'm fortunate they're here, but that's not very often. So I think it's softened me a little. It's made me appreciate some things a little differently. But it hasn't changed my focus on the sport and the work ethic and what I need to do. I still feel very responsible for the opportunities I've been given and to make the most of them. But on the other hand, when I do get some time at home in the afternoon when I finish riding, and maybe I would have spent more time in the stable in the afternoon, a couple of hours doing things that were important, but maybe things that were getting done by other people anyway, that I do spend a few hours with them and try to be as good a parent as I can be. But I look forward to the times when they're a little bit older, that they can start to travel more. That would be more fun.
We are getting closer to the end of this conversation, and yes, there's a question that's super interesting. Do you believe that after getting all the successes, all the medals, all the titles that you have, that you reached the success? Do you believe that you are successful? Do you feel as a successful person?
I believe we've been successful, but I don't look at myself like that. In the end, if I don't keep it up and I don't keep pushing, I can also go 6 months and not win anything and be number 200 in the ranking, and nobody cares anymore. It's a very fast-moving sport. So I think it's important to remember to keep the confidence up, especially if we're not winning. It's good to look back on some videos and remind you that things are possible sometimes when it's not going so well. But I don't really look at that like that. No, I mean, I fell off a few years ago and I had a bad accident, and everything could have sort of been gone in a blink of an eye. And so it makes you look at things in a different way, because I don't care too much on people's perspective of how they look at me. I want to be, obviously I'd love to be remembered as a great rider and great with my horses, and that we achieve many things. But as long as I'm happy within myself with what I've done and my family, then, and my owners and everybody that have supported me, that means more to me. But no, I don't look from the outside in, and I've thought about those things a little bit more when I broke my shoulder and the pain I had to go through to come back, and that was very hard, one of the hardest times for me. So that gave me a drive and a personal push to make sure I came back, and that's what got me through that. But that's the only time that I sort of remember thinking a little bit how you mentioned.
Listening to you, I feel that you are very rooted very committed to your sport, very rooted, conscious of the journey you've had. And I'd like to know what kind of message could you address to the younger generation, to the older riders, young amateur riders who, just like you, sometimes are struggling to manage to do this sport and to be successful and to find the way to performance. What can you tell them?
I think it's important to have dreams, and anything is possible if you work hard enough. It's a hard, long road. If you're not tough and you're not prepared to have many bad times, this is the wrong job for you. And it's better to be real and say that. I just said to my wife the other day, my children are young, they're 3 and 1, and if they would like to ride, I of course would be very happy. If they don't want to ride and they become working in the city or driving tractors or whatever, I also will be proud. But if they want to ride, they will learn to work, and they will tack up their ponies, and they will be out in the cold, and they will get wet, and they won't have everything done with them, and they will learn this the same way, because I think, not in everybody's case, but in more recent times, that's lost. And we shouldn't ask other people to help us if we don't know how to do it ourselves. And the care and the one-on-one with the horse is very important. So when there are those difficult times, or we're having bad results, or maybe we're not lucky enough to have a pony or a horse, there's always a way. Cormac, that worked for me in Tokyo, he came to me when he was 16 years old from Ireland via an email. He had never left his hometown of Ireland before. It's the first time he had a passport. He arrived in the airport with his rucksack, and he spent 6 weeks sweeping the floor in the stable. He did nothing else but sweep. Then he came back on his next school holidays, and he was interacting more with the horses. Then he actually rode a bit for me, and then went to the Olympic Games for me. But he has also jumped in the ring competitively at a lower level. He decided that wasn't for him, and stayed with us, and now is in charge and manages our whole business at home. So there are opportunities all over in equestrian if you want them, but you have to push yourself. And I think some people sit back and wait for things to happen, and that's not going to happen. There's too many people fighting for the same jobs, so you have to open those doors yourself and keep going forwards.
Okay, I just want to ask you the short question, because I think it's important. What is the moment in your career that you will never forget?
The best moment was winning Tokyo Olympics. My worst moment, which is probably more in my memory, is when I broke my shoulder, and the pain in the gym every single day. It was not a fun time, but we can't have the good times without the bad.
What is the best advice you have ever received in your life?
The horses don't know how much they cost, and it's our job to treat them as individuals, but equally all the same, and do our best to make them be the best they can be.
And finally, the last one. Which horse on the current circuit would you like to ride?
I don't have one. I have them in my stable.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank
Ben.
you.